Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hash Rate. My guest today is Sam Dare of Covenant, which is three subnets: a Templar, Grail, and Basilica. Hello, Sam. How you doing?
Hey, hi, Sam. Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. So we're here today to talk about your triumvirate of subnets. So first of all, let's assume people don't know anything about your subnets. Why don't you take us through your vision and what each of the subnets are doing to begin with?
Okay, so Covenant is it's a frontier lab, and our ethos or our motto is to democratize the production of frontier intelligence. So we aim to cover the entire life cycle of intelligence from pre-training, which is Templar, to post-training and evaluations, which is Grail, and also Basilica, which covers compute. So we started off with Templar, gave the world its first decentralized permissionless training run, and since then we started thinking, okay, we're going to need far more compute to do this. We picked up Basilica. Post training is becoming such a big part of the training budget for models, so we picked up Grail. So now we spent a bit of time. We spent about a year. I think Templar just turned 2 weeks ago. So we spent about a year doing this, and we're trying to see, okay, how do we ensure that the sum of the parts is greater than the whole? How do we ensure synergy we viewed synergy across two different lenses. Between the Covenant, we call them orders, between the orders of the Covenant, but also within bit tensor. So how do we, magnify other outputs of other subnets and also magnify ours?
Okay, so let me restate something. Let's talk about Templar first for a second. So for people who don't know, right? So when you use Grok or you use ChatGPT, but let's go back to Grok. When Elon makes Grok, when he trains it, when he makes a new model, he has, I think it's like 200,000, something like that, GPUs in a single. No, is that not right, or is that right?
I don't know. The numbers keep jumping. So for each of these Groks or whatever, not only is he looking at the capex for the actual servers, one thing people always leave out in the costs for training all these gigantic models is that it also costs a lot to set up the data centers. So they often have to build these giga data centers, which require specialized heating, specialized cooling. So when you look at the cost of training a large model, it's not of the cost of co-locating all these machines with super high InfiniBand and very high in connectivity, but also the build cost, the energy cost, and these can become very, very quite significant. Now, what does Templar do? Templar says, okay, forget about these data centers. The internet is your data center. So by doing that, we collapse the cost of that. But so there's two ways to look at Templar. I always look at it.
Sam, let me just help with this explanation, because I don't think we got to the punchline yet. So instead of having this big data center like Elon has, right? What if that was decentralized? What if there was a decentralized Colossus, kind of like Napsterized, right?
Exactly.
Go back to it, right? So the world is always going to have more compute power than any one data center, and eventually that can overwhelm and replace the centralized training AI training center solutions right now. So just to be clear, please continue with your vision for Templar.
Precisely. And one of the things we're pushing with this current Templar 72, Covenant 72B, is it is really, really close to the centralized alternatives. So the argument for this was always that decentralized training takes far too long. But we're at a point where we're proving the thesis that look, decentralized training can be as fast as centralized training. We can achieve comparable and in some cases better results, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Now, what does this do? When the message gets out, it enables what we can see. Because by my estimates, people focus on post-training, because it's cheaper. It's a lot easier to do. You can take a lot of a lot of somebody can already have done the pre-training, and you just go to like gradients and or any other like fine-tuning thing and just fine-tune it. Now the problem here is, I think it's because until interventions like Templar, it's just too expensive for anyone to explore pre-training to the scale that we do it. Because post-training doesn't give the models any new intelligence. The literature shows that all the knowledge is built in pre-training. So what if we open up pre-training to make it a lot more accessible? The area for entropy.
Yeah, sorry. So I just want to go back to something. So you said, so pre-training is you have nothing, and then you basically ingest as much information as you can, like the entire internet, hopefully, something like that. And you make a frontier model out of that information, but you need giant amounts of GPUs coordinating with one another. Doing it in a decentralized fashion means they're not co-located. So theoretically, it's too slow because there's a lot of cross communication that has to happen between all the machines that are in your Napsterized Colossus. And the thinking was, it's going to be too slow. You're not going to be able to achieve any sort of reasonable speed. You have proven that that's not the case. You've actually shown that you can do it fast enough, even if it's decentralized, to overcome that. And then what you're talking about with post-training, so I guess what Basilica does is when you...
Grail. What Grail does. Basilica does.
Grail does. Apologies.
Hey,
Grail.
Get your orders right.
Sorry. My apologies. My apologies to the orders. So what Grail does is it allows for post-training to be applied to this decentralized model that you've already produced in Templar, correct? And that's to specialize. The purpose of that is to specialize the AI into some vertical, right? Like customer support or something like that, right?
Well, not always. So what you do in post-training usually is that, this knowledge, it's like pre-training gives them those, like it gives the base, and post-training creates like strong linkages between the different domains of knowledge. It like refines the intelligence. So when you post-train, you say that, okay, here is a specialized benchmark or a specialized data set, a specialized environment. I want to transfer skills from this specialized environment into my base model. So you do it and you do the reward. So they come hand in hand. So push training is mostly RL. RL isn't new, but RL with LLMs is very expensive and it's not very efficient because most RLs, like when you go to like pure robotic domains, they have loads of simulations, but you can't do simulations with LLMs. So you have to do very expensive rollouts and whatnot. But yeah, I want to keep the conversation. We've been accused of always being too deep. So I want to.
I'm trying to pull you out of it. Like you've noticed, I'm like, here, let me help you out of the water, Sam.
I'm drowning.
You're too smart. We can't follow that brain where it's going, right? So I just want to make sure. The kids in the back can follow, and frankly, I'm the kid in the back also. So I'm trying to keep up with you, Sam. So okay, so let's talk a little bit more about Templar. So you've been working on this for about a year, right? At least the Templar part of this, right? But you don't really have a product yet, right? So it's about creating a capability, right? Creating a utility, more than, there's no chat GPT. You're just, there's no front end. There's just a back end that's becoming better and better and better. And you've had extreme achievement on that back end, right? So what is the game plan for Templar ultimately, and how fast will we see some sort of front end?
So it's a two-pronged approach. The North Star, the model is the product.
Yes.
So eventually, Templar trains a certain true Templar, Grail, and Basilica. We train a state-of-the-art model. We put it out there, and we can build off an infinite amount of things on it. We can run inference on it. We can give gated access to the model to our token holders. We can do coding agents and everything. But that's a longer moonshot. But from what we have already, so like I said, Templar has beaten my expectations. We are where I thought we would be next year. We're there now. Wow. So what does this give us? Yeah, we're training 72B it's almost twice as big as any other model ever trained on the internet. Like News had 40B, I don't think it went that well. So we're really pushing this and we've done that. So what are we going to start doing now? Where, like I say, Covenant and by extension, the whole of BitTensor needs to grow up. I for one, I'm very guilty of over indexing on proof of work. But now we're at a place with Covenant, and even Grail, that we started Grail like 3 months ago. We're at places where we have built infrastructure and primitives that we can go out to the market. There's a demand. There's a demand for people to want to train with us. Because we're talking to different academics, we're talking to institutions, we're talking to corporations, and even governments. Because again, being able to say, okay, you guys run this pre-training load for me. It's never been done before. And the crazy thing about it is or like things like fine tuning, we're gonna have to create this market. And we're creating this market because again, it's just nothing anyone could ever think about doing because it just didn't make sense. Is that okay? I have my data center that I've built for my model. I will keep this wall guarded. What Templar does is it breaks down that wall guarded, and we're getting a lot of inbounds. Like, okay, first of all, this is how it goes. Can you train? Hey, we can train that model for you. Like, no shit, no way you can train that model for you. Hey, go look at that. Go look. 72B is running. So it's all coming together. So in the short term, in the next 3 months, we're going to be. So right now we're a research heavy organization. We're going to be transitioning to a research and product organization because at least people are ready to consume APIs we create to train, to fine tune, and people want to be able to train on our software. So it's pretty interesting. And now training runs, it costs about like between 500K to 5 mil for a training run. That's how much we look at it as.
Wait, and on your system, or you're looking at training runs on existing centralized systems?
On existing systems. On existing systems, how much will it cost to train? How much will it cost to train this? So there's a lot of like upside where it's cheaper for everyone. We will give you we'll give you benchmark beating results. We do it at a fraction of the cost. It's never been done before. A lot of people are even giving up on it.
Okay, let me ask you some questions about what you just said. So you're basically saying that when you say you're creating state-of-the-art models on your decentralized infrastructure, state-of-the-art means Grok, means ChatGPT. You are creating from scratch new models which are competitive with Grok or ChatGPT or beat them, right? To be state-of-the-art, you have to sort of be, neck and neck with them. Are you currently? I don't think you're currently beating them, are you? Or neck and neck with them?
We're not currently. We're not far. So we need to benchmark for our size and for what we've done. So the closest comparables are K2 360. We're on par with that. That's centralized, and we're not too far from Llama 270B.
Okay. Yeah, that was what I was trying to figure out. I was like, I'm sort of like, where are you sort of in the pack, right? So, okay, so there are some centralized produced models that you are at this time competitive with, but not sort of the top end of the models.
No. Yes,
give me sort of, because I'm not familiar with a lot of the sort of which model is which, and I think most people are not. I know you are. You're very deep in the weeds. But what I'm trying to understand is how far away are you from producing something that is competitive with the latest version of ChatGPT or Grok? Are you like 1%? Are you 5%? Like, where are you sort of?
I think we're about 60. I think
60%.
Yeah, I think we're about 60.
Wow.
I think we're about 60. But the problem is the long tail between 90 and 100 is where hell is.
Got it. That's where it gets really
90
tricky.
and 100 is where hell is. But we're pretty close. But the problem is, so that's why one of the things we've been really good with is managing just our treasury and our float, because we always need to expand to get the engineers we need. But now we also need to, grow the product organization, and that's going to be under Evan. So we're well equipped to grow in this because it's a moving point, such as a moving point. Like the Chinese guys keep one upping each other every week, but we just need to build a model that is up there, that's comparable, because everyone's sort out doesn't last 2-3 weeks.
Right.
Even with the big guys, it doesn't last 2-3 weeks. So we need to figure out, like, what our differentiation is, how we build niche models, how we even look at models that you can do things like what Cursor is doing. So Cursor is a very interesting case of what they did with their latest Composer 1, in that because Cursor gets so much data, they could take a Chinese model and post-train it to create one of the fastest coding models. So the design space is what we do around there. But I don't think even Anthropic and OpenAI, they don't one up each other for more than 1 week. So we just need to. They don't. They literally don't one up. And even if they do whatever, but we just need to break past. We're in a stage where POC is done. We're going to keep pushing this forward, But once our platform is known for being able to produce a model that's in that neighborhood, the mind share and the credibility we get from it, it's fantastic.
So you're going to productize Templar. You're basically transitioning from kind of a research only thing into, okay, research is done. No, we're still researching.
You're picking at some interesting things we plan on doing. Or relationship we plan on doing. So with Templar and with all the subnets, TAO Flow is upon us. So it forces us to think about, okay, how do we do things more efficiently? Because again, a lot of subnets are going to make a very stupid mistake. Yeah, they're going to think, let's do nothing. Let's not pay miners. Let's make sure, and it's going to work for a while. Yeah, but one thing I've just noticed with detail is you need to be intelligent with how you respond to the crowd. Because no matter what happens, the crowd do not have your vision. And if you keep doing everything to acquiesce the crowd, you're going to run out of steam. You're going to be rudderless. But it still matters. So where do we go from there? What we're doing now is we're going over all our incentive mechanisms and thinking, okay, how do we expose the core problem? And how do we do this efficiently? So with Templar is still going to be trading a model because there's the amount of value in being there. But we're going to change the incentive mechanism from being just, hey, you come. Because right now, there's things that limit us. The price of TAO and the price of a subnet token is kind of a limiting factor to competition. But do we really need all those miners running the same software? Is that the best thing they can do? Or can we expose a part of the code, the kernel of the problem, and tell them, miners, if you can optimize the shit out of this, you get so much money. So it's kind of like the winner takes all. Winner takes all. Yeah. Well, Ridges didn't invent it. Winner takes all. I think there've been loads of winner takes all subnets. Winner takes all subnets. But it's that kind of thing. But again, is it winner takes all? Winner takes most? Because even with Templar, until recently, Templar was winner takes most. So it's the same thing. Because with Templar in our current setup, we needed like at least 20 nodes. So you need to incentivize them. But you needed to
you need to incentivize them to just be online. So you're kind of talking about
them to compete, but you need to make sure that they compete in such a way that the top guy gets a lot, but the last guy still gets enough to not be disincentivized.
Let me ask you a question about that because so your mining pool is effectively all the GPUs that are in this decentralized colossus. So even if they're just like a dumb worker bee, like they're not really doing any thinking, they are providing compute. So they need to get rewarded in some way, right? So, but then you have your top people who are optimizing for, I think you've called it, I guess it would be speed, but also
they're optimizing for speed. They're optimizing for flop efficiency,
loss reduction. I believe you've said in the past. Yeah. So making the algorithm, making the way that Templar works more and more efficient, right? And those people get the bulk of the rewards, I think is what you said. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. So this will be a product eventually. Templar will be a product. Who buys that product? Who right now is saying, I want to create a new frontier model from scratch. I don't want to just modify something out there. And why would they do that in the first place? Like, why wouldn't I just go grab some off the shelf DeepSeek or something and modify that?
Because you get more control over your model's inputs. You can help with things like mechanistic interpretability, which is when you understand why models do things. You can get a stronger domain specific model. So rather than just training, you can. So there's a lot of signs of corporations using domain specific foundational models. This is a primitive belief Templar unlocks, where the whole weight matrix is saturated with your own data. People don't do that now because it's going to be too expensive. So we can do that. We can accelerate academia. It's easier to spend a 500K grant. Well, if you could train your whole model with 500K, then we could have more people than more academias with their grants coming to us. We could have governments. When one of the meeting the after New IPS, I'm flying back to Dubai. We're meeting some people from like the governmental arms here and the TII, and they're discussing, okay, what can we do together? So we're still in the business development and customer identification phase, but it's looking pretty positive.
Wow. Okay, so I get it. So basically, you wouldn't modify DeepSeek because DeepSeek has its own, or any sort of model that's out there has its own prejudices, has its own, sort of
prejudices. It has its own, and you will get, and there's a possibility for greater ROI or stronger, because again, the stronger intelligence in being able to pre-train the whole, your on your data.
It's the control. Yeah. Okay, so so there's a number of people, researchers and governments, and I guess corporations who are interested, and now that this is possible through you, you're the first entity to crack this at any scale, let alone decent scale, let alone 60% scale. So
but it presents its own problems in that. How do you value this? And it's stuff we need to communicate more because it's never been done before.
Yeah.
So it's like, I love the guys at Gradients, and we're cooking something very interesting with them. Watch out. But it might take that 60% to 70%, but I say too much. But, for them, it's a market that already exists. So it's lower risk. Yeah. It's lower risk. But for us, we're actually going to be terraforming and showing the world that, look, what you guys thought was never possible, we can do it for you. So I'm pretty excited. Again,
how do you value that, right? Because it's completely new.
How do you value that? So there's a lot of work we need to do. I always tell people Templar is boring because Templar just works. It just works. But there's a lot of growing up we need to do in building the rest of the organization. So we're actively hiring, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can. But I'm also very humble about my natural abilities and what I need help with. So Mark, if you wanna, I've got a role for you when you're ready for it.
Well, I've got this still core. I get the still core thing I'm working on first.
I'm ready to become head of vibes. Like they don't let me code anymore. They don't let me, I don't really like marketing, so I'm just gonna be head of vibes.
Yeah, chief vibe officer. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah,
so
CVS,
because so you did bring up TAO Flow. So let's talk a little bit about that. So in this new world of TAO Flow, subnets need to consistently produce a bunch of new TAO coming into their subnet, being sequestered in exchange for subnet tokens. And it's just sort of, you need that it's called flow because the spice must flow. It must always be flowing, right? And that determines over time, on an average, how much emissions your subnet gets, which is what pays your miners. And if you have a decentralized Colossus, miners better be getting paid, because if they're not getting paid in subnet tokens, they're going to leave. So you care now a lot more about this TAO flow, right? And having people value your subnet, which means that there have to be people out there who look at Templar and say, I want to go and get Templar tokens and hold them for a long period of time. So why would I do that, right? Like I can tell you why I would do it, rightly or wrongly. I can tell you why I would do it with Ridges or Hippias, right? I know that they're getting revenue, and some of that, and Hippias in particular has an alphanomics structure that Mog came up with. I think is particularly brilliant. I'm not going to get into the details, but basically he has chained deterministically the value of the Hippias subnet token. It directly correlates to increased usage and increased revenue of the Hippias product and subnet. It's chained, deterministically. It has to go up in value as those two things grow. You're just beginning to productize Templar, so I don't expect to have answers to this, but you must be thinking about it, right? Like, am I thinking about it the right way?
It's simple. It's simple. And it's a no-brainer, because you see, no one is creating any revenue that is significant. Not Liam, not Schutz, no one is. It's about forward expectation. Mob doesn't, like, Hippias doesn't have any revenue. So this is what they have, and we are going to be integrated with them, but it's nowhere near the quantum, the size of what most people pay their miners out. So what are we doing? First of all, we're going to release articles for Templar and Grail soon, but in Basilica, it's simple. We're saying compute subnets. Yeah, they do this thing where they say, you go and get me compute, I will pay you more than the market rate for compute. And if I sell, because discounted compute is easy to sell. So if I sell this discounted compute, then I can feed back into that. And it's working for now because no one else has revenue. And in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. But in Basilica, we're thinking about it from first principles. Like, okay, no, we're not paying miners to just turn up and compute. Miners, go and bring me cheaper compute that I can get, or we burn everything. So it becomes an interactive bidding game where to the customer, they get the cheapest compute, and we share the revenue with the miner and use everything to buy back our subnet token. So that's kind of what we're thinking at. For Templar, we will change. We were thinking about changing the Templar and Grail, because these are things that there are research problems we need to hone in on. Now, Grail has a different problem in that the miners are too good. The miners are too good. So in Grail, they produce rollouts. And rollouts are like reasoning traces that LLMs can train on. LLMs can use for the RL process. So they're producing too much. So that, okay, maybe this process isn't what we need to do. Templar, maybe we can look at the actual training code, the algorithms. Can you guys help us improve these algorithms? So therefore, we can sell better products. Yes. So in that, we massively kill sell pressure. Because again, TAO Flow is very funny. A lot of teams are going to be buying their own tokens, whatever. But I think what the crystal thing is that teams that succeed is, can you tell investors what the future looks like? Can you tell investors what I'm building? Because if I'm burning, Schutz probably has one of the highest. Onto TAO Flow, Schutz had one of the highest. Like I didn't even realize how bad it was. But Schutz can convey what they're doing. Investors can see them realizing it, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, everyone is looking at something, okay, which of your prophecies is going to come true? So each of us prophets, we have to become better at telling those stories. And we have to be smart about responding to the market versus following, just saying fuck it and following yourself.
Okay, go ahead. I just want to restate and dive into one part of this, because I did read the Basilica post on all of the compute subnets. So we have compute subnets right now like Schutz, Targon, and Liam. They're the sort of the big three right now. And all three of them are more or less playing the same game, which is, hey, people out there with compute, load up these models and provide inference, which we will then resell, and we will give you subnet tokens for availability. Right? You're running a computer. It's available. Maybe it's used. Maybe it's not. And the Basilica article, Basilica is your version of that you spun up yourself, so that Basilica could service Templar. So there was always enough compute for Templar, right?
No. The Basilica can service the world.
Okay, right. Anyone can access it. It's not just for you. But I think one of the reasons why you did it was in part so that you had access to something you could control and more or less understand. Now, Basilica, being a competitor / co-producer of compute, studied the problem and basically realized, and you did a post on this. I saw the Twitter post. I read it several times, where you basically said the economics of all of those subnets are upside down, because it's sort of like Uber was for most of its life, right? Where the cost of the ride was actually twice what they were charging, right? The economics are upside down. So that's nice. You can play that game for a little while, but eventually that's going to catch up to you. So you designed a different incentive mechanism for Basilica, which makes things more efficient, right? Like, you're not just paying for availability, or you are paying for availability, but you must find much cheaper compute out there.
We're not paying for availability.
Okay, what are you paying for?
We're paying for be rented. Okay, so again, we're paying for you turning up with the best compute. We have a baseline, so we baseline you against the centralized compute. And if you cannot provide, because we were doing Basilica and we're paying so much for OK compute. But what I'm saying now is, miners, turn up with your best compute. Otherwise, we burn all the incentives. And if you do turn up with your best compute, we will pay you with TAO or the alpha token, but that will be totally offset with the cost of the rental. So if you take out the validator cut, there's no way TAO Flow is negative there, because we literally will burn everything unless miners turn up with better compute. So we see a new optimization game, like, okay, this is the baseline. How do miners, how do we build stability around tooling to allow miners to be able to compete with centralized people on ours? And if they can't, then, we don't, because to me, it's almost lunacy. Why? It's almost like a bribe. So not only are you overpaying the miners to turn up in their compute, you're selling it at a discount. So you're burning the candle on both ends. It's
Yeah, so you basically don't believe in the current model that's sort of being used by the majority of the compute subnets at the moment. I mean, that's what the Basilica post seems to say.
I think it's worth revisiting, especially in the TAO Flow world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it did occur to me. I mean, one of the first things that occurred to my mind when I finally understood how it kind of worked was, any of these subnets where the miners have hard costs. They're basically, right now, if you have a hard cost, you have to basically take the alpha tokens that you just earned mining and sell them, right, to cover your hard costs. You have no choice. It's like being a Bitcoin miner, right? You have to sell some Bitcoin in order to pay for electricity and continue to run your rigs, right? And so there's just continuous sell pressure. Now, Bitcast doesn't have that, right? There's no hard cost for me to participate in Bitcast. I just produce videos, right? So I'm not paying for electricity. There's nothing I have to pay for. So that means I don't really have to sell the tokens. Maybe I do, but I don't have to. Whereas the compute subnets, people do have to. So therefore, their TAO flows theoretically should be not as good as other subnets where the miners don't have hard costs, right? So how does that resolve? It hits them hardest, right? I think. And that was sort of my initial thing. You disagree with that? Okay.
So the problem with compute subnets here, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. They've already made shitloads of money every day that they don't buy their tokens back with anyway. They make shitloads of money. Like, are you kidding me? They pay miners with TAO and keep cash. So they have now, and it's only like in the current system, it's only you only need a local minima to survive. And the compute subnets are the only ones that have the easiest sellable thing, and you can kind of show revenue going back. So whatever you do, you should look at revenue in contrast to total buybacks in contrast to how much miners are spending. Now, the thing with Bitcast is that Bitcast is interesting, but we should not just look at costs. We should also look at outputs. So, because again, let's not descend into nihilism. How valuable is the commodity that Bitcast is putting out? I don't know. I like Will and, they seem like cool people, but how much, how much, it's almost like what Nuance was doing, and I hope they can work on it, but for their V1, it looks like they just get TAO influencers to shill to each other, and we're all in that same bubble, which I don't know, which is okay for a stage one, but it'd be good to see how that goes. So yeah, I think we're looking at, again, value companies, you don't always look at the cogs or the costs, at least not for a startup that's less than a year. In fact, if we started to look at things like real startups, then we should be allowed to be negative for 5-6 years, given what we're building. You understand? But again, it's about being able to frame the entire situation. And also, and this is where I struggle with in Templar and in Covenant, but what I do is that, okay, which parts of it does it make sense to move around? And that's the kind of thinking that got us with, Basilica's new incentive mechanism. And we're pushing that all the way through. We're not going to compromise the mission for cost because I'm not just good at playing those games. But we must be cognizant of them.
So, okay. So let's talk about Templar again for a second. So I think what you're saying here in part is, look, we're a very, very ambitious, very early stage startup is one way to look at it. And it's sort of like AOL before like being online was a thing, right? If you invested in AOL, I'm showing my age a little bit, but this is how I think it, right? Because there was a time in history, which I remember very clearly, where being online was not a thing. Nobody gave a shit. Like you just use your computer on your desktop and that's it. And then America Online came along and said, hey, you can log into this sort of internet thing right before the internet was really on its feet. And there's all kinds of goods and services in here. But it was very difficult to explain to people, why should they get online? It wasn't immediately obvious. And it took a long time to sort of educate people. And yet there were still investors in America Online as it lost money year after year, sending out all these discs in the mail, which, allowed you had to put it in your computer and load AOL on your computer to get on AOL, right? So they spent a shit ton of money sending these discs out. And eventually, over a period of like 5 or 6 years, the gears finally clicked and a bunch of people got online real fast, right? So I think sort of that's what you're saying you are. So that's why people should value the Templar Subnet 3 token right now. It's like being an angel investor. So why don't we flip it? Why don't we flip the script a little bit? Let's say it's 2 years later, right? And let's say it takes 2 years to succeed. What does that look like? What does Templar look like in 2 years in the success case? And why is the Subnet 3 token valuable in that success case?
So in that case, we have a competitive base model. We own, again, so I don't think it's good to view things in isolation. And let me take a step back.
Yep.
Covenant Labs is suffering from divided attention. Because investors want to say, oh, is it token 3? Is it 81? Is it 3? Is it 39? Now, I can't say too much about it, but we're working on a solution to solve this. Because we cannot look at each of the flows, each of the orders in isolation. Because the value flows, they're all synergistic and the value flows intrinsically. So what does success look like? We plan on owning a vertically integrated AI stack. Where you come, you train, you pre-train, you post-train, you do inference, you do any compute job. So one of the things we're launching on Basilica now is jobs. That should be out soon. But for us, the pre-training, Templar gives us this framework to pre-train over the internet. And we think that's incredibly valuable. So if you look at the cost of all the training that's ever been done, and where we see it going, look at the cost of the data centers, look at NVIDIA as a proxy for intelligence. That's where Templar is. Templar allows you to turn the internet into your data center. And this is an unbelievably powerful primitive. And we are far ahead of the pack in doing. I mean, there's other people doing it. There's Macrocosmos, there's Pluralis, there is different people. But to my knowledge, we are far, far, far ahead.
Okay, so the vision is in 2 years, and let's just say it takes 2 years to succeed, right? It's not 5 to 7 years, it's 2 years. Maybe it's less, but let's just say 2 years for sake of argument. What the world looks like is there's a site online called Templar where people can come, corporations, governments, whatever, and they can pre-train models, create their own frontier AI models for not that much money, for quite a bit less than what they're paying today. And they can do it. They can take several stabs at it. It's pretty cheap. So they can keep trying and iterating on their ideas for a frontier model. And it is the world's preeminent training solution. Is that the vision?
Yes,
okay.
That is the vision. That's the vision. And like I want to reiterate on what Templar does. It's not that it's too expensive now or whatever. It's that this guy's we open up that market, that ability to pre-train to everyone. Because from 50K to 100K, we can do that at scale. And we can do that quickly. So Templar, that's what, and also the thing is that, again, these are not independent. So there's some stuff we work on Templar that don't directly go into training, but we can use to build stuff we build on Basilica. So this is how I see things going forward. It's more like, we have 2 research orgs. We have Templar, we have Grail. These research orgs create artifacts that we can deploy on Basilica. But that whole mapping is very clear in my head, but it breaks investor attention. But so we've got like a very, very interesting primitive that's been worked on that would harmonize that and make it a lot clearer. When I say, we're going from Basilica, we're going to Grail, it becomes very confusing. People are like, which one should I buy, which one should I buy? But, we're working on something with the OTF to simplify, to reduce the cognitive burden on that.
Okay, and just repeat something you said, because I just want to make sure this is an interesting point, I think. It's less about the cost of decentralized training. It's more about the access, because right now, who owns a Colossus? Well, Elon's got one.
Exactly.
Some guys in China have one, and there's probably a handful of other people, but that's it. And you don't have one, right? So there's 10 of these in the world, maybe tops. So this democratizes access. Now everybody gets a personal Colossus. That's a new PC, personal Colossus, right?
Exactly. The internet is your PC, and even with the Colossus, they're finding that even they can't co-locate all the machines. I will share the latest Dawesh podcast. He's there with Sadia, the Microsoft guy, and they're going over their multi-site training. So even the big guys have to realize that, even we can't foot the energy bill for the data center in one place. So they're doing it across Washington, Minnesota, and whatever. Like, wow, you guys are finally catching on.
Right, like actually getting enough power to one place. There's probably not enough power in any one place eventually to power, eventually they literally cannot build a centralized data center. Like it tops out at a certain point just because of the power capacity in that region, right? There's only a couple power plants, right? So I think, right, like that's probably got to factor in there at some point. So, okay.
Exactly.
And we're yet to hear how you're going to unify the tokens. And we've yet to hear how, the Subnet 3 token in the future will be valued. How will value be driven into the Subnet? Well, whatever, I guess you can't talk about it yet. But I'm trying to figure out, I know if I bought stock in AOL and AOL's revenue went up, if I believed it was going to become popular, that would mean the revenue would go up, which means the company would be more valuable, which means my stock would be more valuable, right? So I understand what I'm gambling on, right, with buying AOL stock. I don't totally understand what I'm gambling on by buying Subnet 3 or whatever the future solution stock is. It might be okay not to know the answer right now, but that's what I'm trying to figure out.
No. So one thing I love about this whole journey is it's been a journey of becoming less and less clueless. I'm not still fully, like literally on day one, no idea of
Yeah.
what I was doing. And you start to realize where you're going. I think it's JP Morgan that says this: go as far as you can see. When you get there, you'll see further. I couldn't answer this question. I couldn't answer this question a year ago. But now we're very certain. So now for Templar, the fees come. So again, we're committed to BitTensor, and 100% of our fees goes into our token. So anything. So first thing would be any fees we get off the custom trading. 100% used to buy back our token. Now, we do not know the size of it yet, but we have early indications, and we're traveling. I'm going to London next tomorrow. I'm going to LA. I'm back to Abu Dhabi to speak to customers to see, okay, can we sign a little POC? Can we get an LOI? Because this is part of the work we need to do now. So that's that. So that's the first level. Now, when we build this SOTA, that's the moonshot. We can build crazy integrations around it. We can build coding agents around it. We can do inference around it. We can build, we can serve. So the problem is the near term is, okay, trading as a service. But once we get that SOTA model, or we have model that people can build stuff off, like my dream is to have like ridges. Because again, they don't let their people use the internet. You have to be insane to think China is going to give us open source models and ad infinitum.
Yeah, of course.
America stopped doing it. It's a go-to-market strategy.
Yeah.
So it's a go-to-market strategy. So people think, just use GLM. Oh no, just use Quen 2032 bits. Like, bro, you don't know how the sausage was made.
Yeah.
You understand? We had that. So and that's something like that is a hill I'll die on. I'll not give up on that. But all along the way, we can pick up, there's a market for that, our training services. Let's go get people training. Let's push back value. But let's keep blowing the world's mind. Let's keep getting that model. Because once we get that, the TAM is uncapped. And what that brings into BitTensor is also uncapped. But we need to keep pushing. And now, like I say, Cons told me something when I was like doing something stupid a while back. And it's one of the things I've lived by. Always live by the edge. Do you know why? Because you always either overestimate or underestimate. And if you're not living by the edge, you can adjust really quickly. I have underestimated by a year how good Templar would get. And Templar and Grail, they've done that well. So we need to recalibrate and accelerate the growth of the product. So over the next month, that is what we're doing. And, still, because I also think research, we're not, we're 12 now. I think we need to go to 20. We've been very good with our cash management. So we don't foresee significant sell burdens on the token because we do have a lot on the back. Because it's just stuff we're trying to employ people that Zuck wants to. We're trying to employ people that want to be employed by Zuckerberg. People are expensive. They're expensive.
Yeah, so they expect giant amounts of, yeah.
They don't work on vibes.
Yeah, I mean, you said something, what you said about JP Morgan, Jobs has a similar quote where you can't really connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. So, so basically also saying, another way of saying live on the edge, don't worry about not knowing everything, right? You're not going to know everything when you have to make decisions and push forward. Just push forward anyway, and it'll sort itself.
Yes, but I don't know if this bites me or harms me or helps me, but I'm just a very, very radically transparent communicator. Yes. And maybe I need to promise, next month, Templar solving cancer and, keep doing that. But it's just not what I'm just not made like that.
I think you just have to communicate what you're doing. Like I didn't know that Sam was running around doing enterprise sales effectively for Templar. And that, when you make money for Templar, that's going to go into the Subnet 3 token. So enterprise sales have begun. Like you're on the road, you're doing the show, there's interest. It could be very significant amounts of money suddenly flowing into Covenant and therefore into the Subnet 3 token. And there's some solution that unifies all the tokens, so maybe all three of them. So that's new information. And I think that's valuable information for potential token holders to know. So thank you. I think you've answered some great questions here. You had great answers.
So we're working on we've created a new article. I'll share that with you. It's like it's a 4 parts. It goes an overview of economics and where revenue might flow for. Then in the coming weeks we're going to release one on Basilica, then Templar, then Grail. Because I do realize mea culpa, like it's all my fault. I literally don't hire non-technical people. So
Yes.
when you have 12 engineers, and we've got one guy, Derek, bless his soul, he's overworked. He said to me, I don't like it. So we need to expand, we need to expand on product marketing, we need to expand on product growth, we need to expand on products because the research side of it and development side is really good. And we just need to tell our stories better. So I think I trust you to hold us accountable to it. I'll send you the link of our latest, the first one of it's one of 4, and we just plan to tell the story that way.
Okay, yeah, no, this is definitely I feel like this has been a much better chat than the last time we spoke. I feel like there's a lot more clarity, and I feel like
I didn't know why. I didn't know what I was talking about.
It was I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 months ago, something like that. It was a while ago.
Yeah, it was ages.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have Stillcore yet. I mean, I hadn't even planned Stillcore yet. I was still sort of what is this bit tensor thing? Sort of still feeling my way around. So,
But again, it goes to different stages. Then I think that's when we finished 1.5, and I just couldn't believe we had done it. And people were like, oh, what's next? Jesus Christ. So again, we need to for us, even if we did 100 billion now, it doesn't matter. We can do it already. The kind of stuff we need to push for on the model size are really, really boring, very hard problems. But we'll do that. But at the same time, we need to I don't even understand the problems anymore because Templar has outgrown me by so many bounds. We have world-class talent there, but there's other things we need to be doing that we're ready to do, which is building a product organization. So we look forward to that.
Okay. Is there anything else? We're coming up on the hour here. So is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't ask or that you wanted to cover here?
No. I think, again, Mark works with the people,
Well, thank you. Sam, it's always a pleasure to have you on. So I'm really happy that you reached out to me and that we got a chance to do this. So, best of luck with everything. And I look forward to great success.
Yes. Hopefully, and keep keeping us accountable. And thanks a lot. I mean, we do talk. We should talk more often, but thanks a lot.
We should talk more often. I agree. I will make it a point to reach out to you more often. So, cool. All right, Sam. Thank you very much. My name is Mark Jeffrey. This has been Hash Rate. We'll see you all next time.